What's up everyone, John from ARTV. It's time for a review of album number 8 by punk rock and melodic hardcore band Rise Against. This new one is called Wolves, and it's the most excited I've been about a Rise Against record since probably maybe Appeal to Reason in 2008. In Game was the first record I ever covered by them, and it was an album that I liked. There were definitely good songs on there. Some of the singles jumped out to me, and that's just kind of been my relationship over the years with Rise Against. There's some songs that really strike me, and then there's some that I find to be just fine. I don't have problems with them necessarily. It's just that they blend together because they have some very similar themes. Now, obviously, Rise Against, it's all in the name. Rise against something, stand up for what you believe in, fight the fight. Politics and personal relationships, introspection are all a part of this new album, Wolves. Once again, obviously politics have always been a part of this band. They were against the George W. Bush administration and they campaigned hard against him. Siren Sound of the Counterculture is the album that put them on the map. And now, obviously, you've got the clown that is Donald J. Trump in office, unfortunately, ruling over the United States. And obviously that's probably some good subject matter to write about. And I don't think that all of these songs are super direct, other than maybe How Many Walls, which is a fantastic song with a killer hook on it, a big sound. I love the rollicking guitars on that one, just a powering tune. But really all throughout, I feel like a lot of it definitely could be a little bit more obscure, and some of the things aren't as on the nose. And I like that. Wolves can be taken several different ways, and Rise Against have always had a knack for doing that. Their last record I actually covered with my fellow YouTube critic, Spectrum Pulse. That was the first collab review that we ever did. I did not feel as positively as he did towards that record, The Black Market, but I think it's grown on me a little bit. I revisited it before I reviewed Wolves, and there were definitely some tracks that I was nodding my head along with, kind of headbanging to, and then some slower moments that I thought were alright, maybe not amazing, not their best work, but it was definitely a Rise Against record, and that's what I like about this band. They've kind of been like, stick to your guns, like, we're gonna do what we're gonna do. Maybe it doesn't matter if not everybody's listening. You guys can come along if you want to, but sales and popularity, it's not what it's all about at all. I respect that on Wolves, they stay the course. They give the tried and true Rise Against. In fact, I'd say it's more of a return to some of their earlier sounds, maybe something more like In Game or even Appeal to Reason. Sufferer and the Witness was maybe a little bit harder than this, but still, maybe it could have fit in more in that time frame and era. Tim McElrath sounds great on the vocals once again. He doesn't sound like he's aged at all. He can really just get on the mic. Some of these tracks have screams at the end of them, and I love that they go out in chaos. The title track, Wolves, is probably the best song here. It just tears it down. It just bites into you. And I love that about this song. It's got a catchy chorus, but it also has a lot of tenacity and power in the lyrical content. We are the wolves, basically ready to strike, ready to tear down. Let's all band together for what we believe in instead of staying silent. And is this a new message for Rise Against? No, but I like that they're finding clever ways to really just relay it once again. Now, some of the tracks definitely are a little bit more forgettable, but that's almost kind of excusable at this point. I mean, not that they're necessarily running out of subject matter, it's just that, I don't know, it feels like they touch on some of the same subjects that we've heard from them several times already. Parts Per Million is one of these tracks that I feel like tries to do a little bit of politics, a little bit of some introspection as well, and I don't know exactly how well it translates overall. I think Politics of Love is a much better song on this album that mixes those two worlds, and whenever they collide, we get something a little bit more fiery and more interesting as well. Bullshit comes right in the middle of this album, and it's kind of a dividing track for me because I don't necessarily care for the shouts in the background whenever Tim sings, obviously, "This is bullshit," and then they shout it and kind of echo it. I don't know. I've never really cared for that in these big, empowering anthem type songs in the world of rock music, especially more like mainstream rock and that sort of thing. And I'm definitely not calling them mainstream as in basic by any means. It's just one of those labels that gets applied to them, and they have seen a ton of success, so I guess it does apply. But on tracks like that, I just feel like it's more for like an arena or a live setting, and I would rather hear it there than just on tape. The lead single, The Violence, really grew on me. I've come to love those supercharged riffs. The guitars are very inventive and they kind of dig their way out in this song and kind of steal the show almost. Not saying that Tim doesn't perform and show up here on this tune, but it's an absolute jam, and you see that carry into some of these other moments here. I already mentioned How Many Walls being absolutely great. Mourning in America is fantastic. We've seen several songs titled this in the past year, but I feel like this is probably the best of them. I really like this song a whole lot. The lyrical message here, along with the cadences and the music, it's got a great flow and ambience to it. It's just, it's a movement. Whenever you're listening to Rise Against, you expect a certain level of lyrical maturity and just anger and that sort of thing, and I really feel like we get it in the combination of that and obviously How Many Walls coming right after that. I love the closer on this thing as well. I almost forgot to mention that, but Miracle is a great closing track on the standard edition of this record. The guitar solo and the little breakdown at the end of that is really cool. Almost one of the best parts on the entire album. Wolves, it's a great close to the record, a great thin moment, and this album is only 40 minutes long, a little bit short for Rise Against, but I'm not complaining because this goes down smooth. Some of the tracks in the middle are a little bit more forgettable, like Welcome to the Breakdown, although there is a highlight right after that, Far From Perfect. It's one of those tracks that you would see it initially and think, ah, boy, this is kind of cheesy, but the more you listen to it, it's actually so endearing. There's a lot of passion poured into that one. I love the chorus. It sticks in your head, and it actually has a really good message to it. Like I said, I've never been a huge Rise Against album fan necessarily. I like a lot of songs here and there, but I think this is one of their strongest outings that they've had in quite a while. I think the songs blend well together. They all fit together as an album, and there are some that really do jump out and stand out, even if some of them do feel a little bit too familiar, a little bit too similar. I think that this album overall did a pretty good job of accomplishing exactly what they set out to do. Wolves, I think, is going to have a moderate replay factor for a lot of listeners. I don't know if it's going to be something that's just demanding you to come back to the full album, but who knows? The further that we get into this presidency, maybe some of the songs will become even more relevant. So for me, I'm going to have to go with a 3.5 out of 5 for Wolves, the 8th album by Rise Against. Let me know what you think of Wolves in the comment section down below, and smash that like button while you're here. And if you're able to, help me out on Patreon. It's that annotation over there in the corner of the screen, and it helps immensely. Thank you to all the new patrons. Last Rise Against review right here, recent review on the channel right there, and socials all linked in the description. Come connect with me, and I'll see you very soon right here on ARTV.